What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your $1,400 third stimulus check update, fourth stimulus check update, and daily news report. We have new information from the White House regarding several different things today. We're also going to talk about several different provisions that could and or will be in the fourth stimulus check package, the infrastructure slash stimulus check package, as really we're getting a little bit more details by the day of what they want to put in this entire package before all is said and done, including a fourth stimulus check. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new updates on the fourth round of stimulus, as there is a lot more than just a stimulus check on the horizon. We're going to cover several different things in this video. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new updates on the fourth round of stimulus, and hit the like button for us. And here we go. Okay, first up, President Biden and the White House finally released their budget proposal for the fiscal year 2022. This is actually a little overdue, and it's actually a larger budget than previous years, a slight increase, as well as he did not decrease the budget for the national defense, which a lot of people expected him to actually lower the budget. It's slightly more. Also includes a budget increase for several different social programs. As you can see here, President Biden today proposed a $1.5 trillion annual budget for fiscal year 2022, $118 billion higher than the regular 2020 appropriations, featuring a significant 16% boost in non-defense spending. The $769 billion non-defense budget, which covers government departments such as transportation, health and human services, justice, and education, is a $105 billion increase from the current level. Administration officials who say the government has underinvested in domestic spending for years noted that it would be roughly in line with the 30-year non-defense average of 3.3% increase of gross domestic product. Defense spending, which some budget watchers expected to stay flat in the proposal, would increase by $12.3 billion or 1.7% to $753 billion. That's right. Our national budget every year, our annual budget, is about half defense, defense of the country, and half non-defense. It's kind of a weird appropriation that we spend that much money on the defense of the country. I guess it's one of those things you might consider it kind of a waste of money until you really need it. And then you're like, wow, I'm glad we have a very strong defense of our country. Hopefully we never need it, but we know that that's not going to be the case. In a stark reversal from 4 years of budget requests from President Trump, which sought to slash funding for major agencies, but was routinely dismissed by Congress, the Biden proposal beefs up government agencies, including a 40.8% increase for education, a 27.7% increase for commerce, and a 23.1% increase for health and human services, and a 16% increase for agriculture. It would also boost agencies such as the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, by 21.3%, and the National Science Foundation by 19.8%. The defense level, which rose dramatically underneath President Trump, is likely to receive pushback from the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, which has pushed for cuts to a defense budget they say is bloated. The White House also pointed to a significant proposed spending increases in programs it said would make the country healthier and more equal, putting $8.7 billion towards the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and $10.7 billion towards opiate addiction research and prevention. It would also more than double Title I spending on high poverty schools, increase the maximum level of Pell Grants to $400, and invest in programs to reduce racial inequities in housing, maternal health, and policy. Biden's request kicks off the annual appropriations process in Congress, which requires both chambers, the House and the Senate, to pass 12 different spending bills to fund the government before the new fiscal year begins on October 1st. Without spending bills or stopgap measure, the government shuts down. If you remember on this channel, we've seen that happen in the second stimulus check package, which finally passed in December as they extended the government shutdown. They passed bills to extend it. They actually passed several different ones as they were so close to passing the second stimulus check package. And if you remember, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats made sure to tie in the government spending bill with the second stimulus check package and said, we're not going to pass one without the other, which was actually good news because if you remember, we had a stalemate in Congress with Mitch McConnell controlling the Republicans and Nancy Pelosi controlling the Democrats in the House, Mitch McConnell in the Senate. And they just couldn't find a compromise. And finally, when they said, and really this was both sides that finally said this, they said, we're not going to pass a government annual budget until we pass the second stimulus check package. So they tied them together and finally passed that in December amid several different government budget extensions. And remember, that second stimulus check package originally had no second stimulus check in there, and it was crazy. And then finally, the push or the momentum from both everybody in Congress, really I should say Democrats in Congress, and also well there was some Republicans at that point that were pushing for a second stimulus check, including Republican Senator Josh Hawley, and then at the end, most notably at the time, President Trump, who said the $600 stimulus check wasn't enough, and then it should be $2,000. Of course, we know that then Mitch McConnell from the Senate shut that down, the Cash Act. He didn't even let it go to a vote in the Senate after it passed the House with bipartisan support. That was the $1,400 stimulus check. And while Mitch McConnell didn't even let it go to a vote, he just tabled it and said, nope, we're not going to vote on this. But that did end up costing Mitch McConnell and the Republicans the control of the Senate and ultimately the presidency. And now Mitch McConnell is not in control of the Senate, and Democrats eventually passed that $1,400 stimulus check anyways through the third stimulus check package, even though Mitch McConnell tabled it. So he kind of lost out in both different ways there. One, they passed the $1,400 stimulus check anyways. And two, he and the Republicans lost the Senate. So I would say that that was a bet that did not go according to plan. And he could, I wish he could, he probably wishes he could take that one back if he could. Now, around 100 different Democrats in both the House and the Senate, remember the Democrats control the House and the Senate, and likely are going to pass this next infrastructure slash stimulus package without any Republican support. That is the most likely scenario. They're pushing for not just a fourth stimulus check in the next package, but actually for monthly stimulus payments in the next package. And really, the lowest amount I'm seeing is a $2,000 stimulus check, but they're pushing for, as you can see here, 21 Senate Democrats urge President Biden to put recurring stimulus checks, monthly stimulus checks in the next package, including an unemployment aid extension in this next package, the infrastructure package. So not only did they end up passing the third stimulus check package, the $1,400, but now Democrats are pushing for a fourth stimulus check package and actually pushing for monthly stimulus checks as high as $2,000. But really, there's a lot more that they're pushing for in this next package, and we'll ultimately probably see a lot of different stimulus items in this package when they go to actually pass it. Number one is they're actually pushing to have prescription drug prices reduced. This is something that actually goes back to President Trump. He signed an executive order on this, and it's still basically kind of in play on how they're going to have this done. But here's Senator Bernie Sanders on getting prescription drug prices reduced for Americans in this next package.
There is an interesting debate among the people of this country about which powerful special interest has the most clout on Capitol Hill. Some people think it may be Wall Street, and some people may think it's the military-industrial complex, and some people think it's the fossil fuel industry. I myself may be wrong, but I would give the nod to the pharmaceutical industry, an industry which charges the American people by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, and has managed to create a situation where they can raise their prices to any level they want any day of the week. So today, people are walking into a drugstore, walking into a pharmacy. Pharmacist is telling them, sorry, price of your medicine has substantially gone up. That's what the drug companies have done. Drug companies are an industry which year after year make huge profits, and they pay their CEOs incredibly large compensation packages. It is an industry which is significantly responsible for the fact that in the United States, we pay the highest prices in the world for health care, almost double what any other country pays. It is an industry which has an incredibly opaque pricing system, which pays one branch of government, which charges one branch of government a very different price than it charges another for the same drug. Same exact drug, Medicare will pay a price, Medicaid will pay a price, Veterans Administration will pay a price, community health centers will pay a different price, all for the same exact drug. And that's true for hospitals, for nursing homes, and for individuals. Very hard to know what they are charging anybody else. This is an industry that has paid $32 billion in fines for a variety of illegal actions over the last 20 years, including price fixing, overcharging the federal, state, and local governments for their products, bribery, collusion, fraud, and deception. And yet this is an industry which keeps going on its merry way, virtually untouchable year after year after year. Now, how did they get away with that? And it is not hard to understand. During the last 23 years, the drug companies have spent $7.6 billion on lobbyists, $7.6 billion over the last 23 years, including the former leadership of the Democratic and Republican parties. They have more than 1,500 lobbyists here in Washington. There are 435 members of the House and Senate. They have 1,500 lobbyists here in Washington, as well as lobbyists in virtually every state capital in this country. Since 1990, they have spent nearly $730 million on campaign contributions, which have gone to many, many hundreds of members of Congress in both political parties. Let's be clear, the pharmaceutical industry is not particularly sympathetic to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They try to buy both parties. In fact, I think it's fair to say that it is not Congress which regulates the drug companies, but the drug companies which regulate Congress. And that has got to change. Congress finally, after years and years and years of talk, finally has got to summon up the courage to take on the drug companies and lower prescription drug prices in America. That is what the American people want, and that is what we need to do. Last year, 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford to buy the medicine prescribed by their doctor. How crazy is that? Walking into a doctor's office, getting a diagnosis, getting a prescription drug, but you can't afford to fill it. Meanwhile, while Americans are dying or getting sicker than they should because they cannot afford the medications they need, 9 large drug companies made over $58 billion in profits last year. $58 billion in profits, 9 companies, while just 6 pharmaceutical industry CEOs made $564 million in total compensation over the past 3 years. Not too shabby.
My personal thoughts is I do think that they need to reform the way prescription drugs and healthcare is, because it's just the cost is getting insane for the average person, the average family, especially if you have to pay this stuff on your own and your company doesn't pay it. So I think that any reform in the future will be good. And as you just seen Bernie Sanders say, These companies are not struggling to make profit. They're making billions and billions and billions, and they're paying their CEOs tens of millions of dollars each. So it's not like they're struggling for a profit. They're making an exorbitant amount of profit. So, and likely is all that. Number one is, and this starts with President Trump, and they're still trying to finalize this. The number one thing they want to do for prescription drugs is just really one of the things there is they want to make it so that the US gets the same price as other countries are getting for prescription drugs. So what can happen is they could sell a prescription drug, and we'll just take insulin for example. You know, it's a life-saving drug that people need, and it costs hundreds or thousands of dollars for some people depending on your insurance or if you have insurance or not. Some countries will get that for fractions of the cost of what they charge us. And I mean, I understand there's a little bit of a fair market there where charge as much as you can get. I mean, the entrepreneur in me understands that. But when we're talking about life-saving prescription drugs, it's a different story. Like people need this to survive, and if they can't afford it, people literally die. And this is not something you can debate. People literally die because they don't have access to insulin. They can't afford it. And that's just literally one of thousands of prescriptions. So I do think that, and again, the entrepreneur in me understands, but these companies are making billions and billions and billions of dollars. They're not struggling. Okay, so if they go from making $100 billion to $90 billion in a year, you know, or yeah, that's probably more than they make in a year, but maybe as an industry, okay, we're just going with example numbers here. They're still going to be perfectly fine. Okay, they're still going to be perfectly fine. And remember, a lot of these companies right now are really raking the money in with COVID-19 vaccinations. It's more than just the three or four main companies that you know, the Pfizer's, the Moderna's, the Johnson and Johnson, the AstraZeneca's that are making the vaccines. There's a lot of other companies that are involved with other processes and distributions and making ingredients and all those sorts of different things that are sharing in those profits. But those companies are literally just raking in the dough, like record levels that they've never seen before. And it's very likely, I think, that the vaccine will continue on for many, many years. So it's not just like a one-time anomaly for these companies. So I really think that some type of reform needs to happen because this is life-saving stuff here. And whether the government ends up having to pay for part of it as more subsidies, or they just force these companies to make the same price be for the United States as other countries, you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We'll have to see. But I am expecting them to push for some reform in this package, even possibly we could see it. So I'll keep you up to date on everything. The fourth round of stimulus, fourth stimulus checks, the Medicare extra benefits that they're pushing for, dental, hearing, and vision they're pushing to possibly make included in Medicare for free, along with possibly lowering the age. So, like I said, there's a lot more on the horizon than just the fourth stimulus check itself. But of course, the fourth stimulus check is probably the best, juiciest thing in there for everybody. So I'll keep you up to date on everything. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on video updates. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. After subscribing, you can click the bell icon down below that appears next to the subscribe button to all notifications to get reminder notifications for the first 3 videos of the day. The 11 p.m. video, you won't get a reminder for. You just have to remember to show up to that. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I've had dozens of students that have replaced their 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon. And me and my wife, that's one of our businesses. We sell products on Amazon. And another one of our businesses is teaching people how to do that. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.